Exodus 20, verse 4 and 5 says, you shall not make for yourself a carved image. So you're carving this thing, right? You're making this image of any likeness of anything that's in heaven above, or that is on earth beneath, or that's in the water under the earth. You shall not bow down to them, nor serve them. For I, the Lord your God, am a jealous God, visiting the iniquity of the fathers upon the children to the third and fourth generation of those who hate me. So it seems like the idea of hating God is associated with this idol worship, this image worship. The author of Psalm 115, which is inspired by God, says, their idols are silver and gold, the work of men's hands. So their idols are made by men, right, out of silver and gold. They have mouths, but they do not speak. So these idols can't speak. They have eyes, or eyes they have, but they do not see. They have mouths, but they do not speak. Oh, I already said that. Repetition is the key to learning here. They have ears, but they do not hear. Noses they have, but they do not smell. They have hands, but they do not handle. Feet they have, but they do not walk. That's why they're getting carried everywhere, right? So they cannot walk, nor do they mutter through their throats. They can't even make a sound. These gods that they're worshiping are just material. They're just gold that is shaped like something, but it doesn't talk, it doesn't listen, doesn't hear, and people are worshiping him. But here's the very fascinating thing. Look at verse 8. Those who make them are like them. So is everyone who trusts in them. So how did they just describe these idols? They have eyes they can't see, they have ears they can't hear, mouths they can't talk, hands they can't handle, feet they can't walk, and then it says, and those who make them are like them. Because they're not thinking correctly, they're not living correctly, and that's the result of idolatry in building these carved images. The nothingness of idols turns human beings into nothingness. It's a great statement. It was made by Pastor John Piper. It's like the nothingness of the idols. There's nothing about them, but worshiping of that idol creates nothingness in us and makes us like nothingness. But we don't really typically have an idol in our house that we worship, and our friends don't typically have these, right? So sometimes we kind of pull away from the idea of idolatry even being a danger. But look at, but in the New Testament, what it starts doing is it starts describing idolatry not so much as of a worship of an image that doesn't do anything, but it becomes an obsession of our heart. The idol becomes, it's still empty, it still has no power like God has power. It doesn't see, it doesn't hear, it doesn't handle, it does nothing for us. It just becomes an obsession of ours, right? And sometimes that idol is a good thing, but we're obsessed with it. It's a desire of the heart, an out of order desire of the heart that becomes the idol. And that's how the New Testament starts to teach about idolatry. So look at Romans 1:21, and we'll read through all the way through verse 23. Romans 1:21 says, because although they knew God, they did not glorify him as God, nor were they thankful, but became futile in their mind or in their thoughts, and their foolish hearts were darkened. So if their thoughts are futile, I don't know how to say that, that means they're empty thoughts. It's like mindlessness again, just like the statue that's described in the idol worship in the Old Testament. And then their foolish hearts were darkened. The idea of being darkened is that you don't see clearly. They knew God, but they did not glorify him, so they're not exalting God and believing in God like the way they should. They aren't even thankful. In other words, they don't recognize who God is and their dependence on him, and they don't acknowledge it. They become futile in their thoughts, and their foolish hearts were darkened, professing to be wise. They're acting like they're wise. They actually become fools and change the glory of the incorruptible God, and here's this, into an image made like the corruptible man. Now, this is not a statue now. It's the way these people are thinking about this thing. They change the incorruptible, the glory of the incorruptible God into an image made like a corruptible man. But it's more a description of the heart of man and what he is glorying in. And it started with not glorifying God, not exalting God or enjoying God, not thanking him, so failing to acknowledge him. They become mindless again and powerless in their thinking and in their actions. And they changed the glory of the incorruptible God to the image of a corruptible man. And the image of the corruptible man, in other words, man becomes the God. Right? If you're changing the image of the incorruptible God into the image of a corruptible man, man has now become God. And that is idolatry, because you're not acknowledging God and worshiping God the way you should be. Listen to this quote: "The foremost image of man that threatens to replace God is the image we see in the mirror."